many of you will be familiar with St Cuthbert's Mill. They create Bockingford, Milford and Saunders Waterford papers. Today I'm specifically going to just look at their Milford paper. The reason for this is the claim is that it's replaced the old Whatman paper with the same recipe that Whatman had. Now, in my own collection, I have lots of Whatman papers from many years ago. The company ceased manufacturing in about 2002, but I managed to buy a lot at the time that they decided not to make anymore. So I want to compare. So I'm going to compare Whatman with Milford. Okay, so stand by. So the claim from Milford is that watercolour artists have grieved the loss of Whatman and this unique type of watercolour paper, and they've filled the gap. It is indeed 100% cotton, just like the original Whatman, and they say it's a superb surface. It's created from natural woolen felts. It's deliberately created to have a high resistance to water, so its wash is performed very differently to traditional watercolour papers. Milford sees the welcome return of a much loved style of watercolour paper. Okay, so I'm going to actually put that to the test by putting the actual Whatman watercolour papers up against our friends from St Cuthbert's Mill and look at their Milford papers. Okay. So let's get down to doing our test. What you do is mix up some equal mixture, if you like. So we're going to go first off and try some ultramarine blue. Now obviously for transparency, we just see how that works. So we'll make quite a weak mixture, but obviously stronger so you guys can see it. So let's have a go at the Milford then. Now what I've popped in here is where it says number 1. We have, so I'm just concentrating, that's why I'm stopping talking. We've just got a permanent marker pen just to see that blending and bleeding through. Let's have a look at the Whatman, the rough 90. Don't even notice how the finish on that was pretty amazing, and how that's, I know there's a run of water, it's very different. Let's have a look now at the Whatman hot, not pressed or cold pressed. There we go. So what I noticed straight away is the way this is sort of granulated on here, this transparent wash, is actually really quite similar to a Bockingford paper. That kind of surprises me slightly. This Whatman 90, I mean, look at the way that's just evenly distributed there. Almost think, well, maybe did I have too much pigment on the brush when I put that in, but it's all from the same mixture. And here I've got a kind of very transparent, but the way it's kind of bled down, let's just try and take out some of that where it's bled down. I don't want to fiddle around too much because I want to make this as equal as possible. Now the other test that this is how long will these remain wet on the surface. That's going to be interesting. Obviously this one's still wet, that one's very shiny and wet, and this one's still wet. I'm going to go on to the next one, the gradiated wash. This is very exciting seeing these up next to each other. I'm going to add some more pigment there. I know I'll try and do this quite equally. So by that I mean I'll pop in, this is going to run, because this board is slightly, I mean straight away you can see the way that's moving across there, amazing. It's all off the same mixture of paper as well. Really do notice a difference there, don't we? And then as we come down, we'll add a touch more liquid. And I'll just work this one down a touch. So about a third left. Same with this one. Because these are 100% cotton papers, you expect, it depends on the way they're sized actually, but you expect the pigment to lay on the watercolour surface for quite a while. Just going to wet this down a little bit. So we're going, that's nice the way that's granulating there. Nice effect. This has just gone right in there. Look how quickly that's stained, if you like. And here it's still sitting on the surface, which I quite like, because I can go back in to make that a bit lighter. So you've got to say, as a gradiated wash, actually the Milford works better as a gradiated wash. This dried quickly in here and it kind of sunk straight in on this Whatman. That's quite surprising, because this French ultramarine is transparent. So I'm surprised by that. And here it kind of did what I would expect. So we say we're talking about granulation. Let's go again with the same pigment, and we'll just add more to get some more granulation. Let's see how this works out. I'm going to go across here the same. So we're just going to pop this on, and we'll see the granulation probably happen straight away, but also when it dries without a shadow of a doubt on the granulation. It's noticeable that when you touch into this Whatman 90 rough, the pigment is much stronger, really powerful the way it's lifted that, and also it sinks in to the paper. It really does. And let's try the Whatman 140, which is a cold press, not the same as this Milford, and that's staying on the surface more. There we go. Probably going to run off to this side again if we move that over there, the same as this one. More liquid holds on here, that's what I've noticed. The liquid in the Milford seems to seep into the paper a bit quicker. We can now see definitely different results as this is starting to dry. Very exciting. Glazing is a technique where we go over with a colour and then go over the top of it. So let's get some more mixture here. Just clean this up a touch. It doesn't really matter what we're popping in, I don't think. Let's pop in a alizarin crimson. And we'll pop that in first, and then we'll glaze over the top of it when it's dry. I'm going into this one first. This is quite a wet mixture, just to see how that performs with a different pigment. As we know, different pigments perform in different ways. This one seems to just absorb as soon as you pop it on. There we go. Similar results here. This is sort of seems to be lighter Could just be the amount of paint we've popped in there, but definitely a different type of finish. You know, here we've almost got a granulation. It's the knot of that is acting differently to the knot cold press of this Whatman. And then finally, this is my favourite part, so I like to do lots of wet into wet. Let's just try these two colours together, see what happens. I'll just pop in roughly there. Again, as soon as you go on, you can see it taking straight into the paper. It's almost kind of dyeing it on that one. Here it doesn't, it performs similar. Let's just see what happens here when we put in some of this. See how it blends and bleeds in there. I mean, this Whatman in itself is just so far superior in terms of the brightness of the colour. There's no doubt about that at all. Look at the lovely granulation though in this Whatman here as it's starting to dry. That's a very even granulation. And this still hasn't dried yet. So we've got some very interesting results. This wet into wet, I'm just going to pop back in into that just to mix it up a little bit with some darker pigment of this ultramarine. Just pop that in and see what happens. Just pop it in here, pop it in there, pop it in there. Let's just see how that blends and bleeds around. This is just a more of an even dispersal. This one is not so even. And this one is actually quite an even dispersal. So we'll wait for all this to dry and then we'll summarise and discuss. So welcome back. These are all now dried naturally. I didn't use a hairdryer at all. And we're just going to go straight back over this glazing. That's the last little thing I need to check out before we summarise. So let's go in with some French ultramarine and just go straight over and see what happens. Let's go fast. There we go. Let's see what happens there. Be very interesting to see. You can see the edges. This is quite a slight disadvantage in a way because the board I think is tilted towards the left. I will just slightly take out some of that mixture that's there because of that. Again, the vibrancy. Look at the vibrancy in this Whatman 90. This is a nice glaze here. You can see that took really well. You can see the wash underneath from the alizarin crimson, and here we've got the French ultramarine, and it's really clear. Here I think I might have done a little bit of disjustice to the Milford because just the way the board is set, it's running that way. You can see it running off that way. But again, nice glazing. It seems to be very even in its finish. This is more powerful, if you like, and you can sort of see the edge, which I'm not too keen on there, that edge. And here, again, it looks as if it's going to be similar to the Whatman, but I prefer the Whatman's sort of overall finish to it. But this is very transparent as well coming through. So there you go. We're now going to summarise and wrap this up.